All right, everyone, let's get started. So for our second panel, the topic is a little bit different. It's about being in the trenches. It's about leading teams, getting technical, mentoring people. And this group brings that different set of experience to the conversation. They're builders, they're mentors, and they've all stayed remarkably close to the code in a way, even as their scope has grown. So we've got Robert, Jordan, and Arun. They're leading teams that ship products used by millions, from SugarCRM's enterprise platform to Woflow's data infrastructure powering delivery apps, and Tubi's 97 million user streaming platform. And I really love the fact that they're still technical. I mean, Jordan still ships code while listening to some dubstep, apparently. Robert mentors junior devs and contributes to product architecture, and Arun just led the rollout that helped Tubi stream the Super Bowl for a record 15.5 million concurrent viewers without a hitch.
Whoa.
That deserves a round of applause, please. All right, let's start with some more detailed intros here. So Robert Gonzalez is the VP of Engineering at SugarCRM, where he leads a global team of 50 across front-end, back-end, mobile, platform, and security, owning products that generate over $100 million in revenue. He is known for building high-trust engineering cultures. He mentors junior talent, coaches future execs, and still gets hands-on as much as possible. Please welcome Robert Gonzalez. Our next panelist is someone who's been deep in the trenches of building startups, scaling engineering teams, and taming chaotic, unstructured data since long before it was cool. Jordan Nemrow is the co-founder and CTO of Woflow, where he's on a mission to structure the world's messy data, starting with the data powering food delivery, commerce, and AI workflows. And he also finds time to explore wild side projects like AI agents and burger ranking apps. Is that right? Okay. Please welcome Jordan. And Arun, rounding out panel B, we've got Arun Shankar. He's the director of engineering at Tubi, where he leads the web and OTT app experiences team, powering one of the fastest growing streaming platforms in the world. His team is behind the scenes delivering seamless video playback to over 97 million users, including the flawless execution during Super Bowl that we just mentioned. Please welcome Arun Shankar. All right. Quick lightning round to start, guys. Big leadership shift in the last year. Robert.
Yeah, start off. So I think one of the biggest shifts that I've noticed in the last year is in a global economy that seems to be getting tighter and tighter. Like, how many of you have experienced life just being more expensive lately? Businesses have too, and businesses still have a business to tend to, but they have to do it in a more conservative way. So leaders have a tendency to have to figure out where their investment dollars are going to go while still innovating, still building, still delivering. So one of the biggest shifts that I've noticed in the last year or so is we are targeted to spend less, but do more with less. As teams shrink, as more and more companies you hear about all the time are laying people off, their commitments aren't getting smaller, right? They're just shrinking workforces. They're still delivering what they need to deliver. And so I think the biggest shift that I've had is figuring out, how do I get the right people in the right seats, building the right thing at the right time, using the dollars that I have to do that with. In the past, that hasn't been as big of a consideration. The last year, that has been like the biggest consideration.
It definitely feels like that. The bar for efficiency has been going up.
Yes.
And there's all these AI mandates, but at the same time, they come with a tighter belt.
Yep.
Right. Over to you, Jordan. What's the biggest leadership shift you've seen last year?
Yeah, I mean, with AI, everything is faster in terms of being able to build things. But truthfully, every week, new tools are out. Every week, new models are out. And so the biggest shift that I've had is allowing my team, allowing engineers in my company to slow down. Like, truthfully, they need to understand all the tools that are coming out. And so I give them opportunity, and I think it's very important to give them space, give them creativity to go explore new products. We I wouldn't say we have a budget, but it's like, oh, you want to pay for this new service? Please do it. Spend some time understanding it. If it's good, we'll use it for the rest of the team. So for me, it's been slowing down to speed up and giving my team the space to do that and also the autonomy to do that.
Arun, your take on that?
Cool. So yeah, for me it is coding less. Less coding in the last 1 year. It's more about like managing senior staff level engineers and trying to share that expertise that I learned like in the past 7 years at Tubi, right? Like Tubi is available across so many different platforms and so many different models. There are a few nuances and it's not well documented at the moment. We need to like do a better job at documentation. But getting that, like, when I do a code review and I see something and I'm saying, no, this doesn't want to work on PS4, this is not going to work on PS5. I need to be, I think that's the change like happening because I feel that like, I can do it myself, I can code it and get it done myself, but I have to resist that urge and then, share my knowledge, what I learned, and then give it to other engineers in my team. Yeah.
Great. So as I mentioned at the start, guys, the idea here is for us to talk about actual management of engineering teams. And I feel that there's a few parts to that. It starts with hiring. Then you have to manage and extract performance from the team. And then you have to take care of culture and keeping that team healthy. So let's start with hiring for a bit. Are you guys using AI in hiring? Is it playing a role? And how do you feel that that's changing? And maybe we start with Jordan.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of parts. We're using AI, so within our like recruiting process, we definitely use pieces of AI. For me personally, in terms of vetting engineers, I actually just look for curiosity in AI. So like, I get a lot of people who have never tried it, or maybe they're confined.
It plays a role as a criteria, right?
Exactly, yeah. To me, it's, are they interested in it? On my team, again, as you heard on my last statement, like I want everyone to explore AI. I want people to be very curious about AI. That's our culture, and if you're not gonna like play into that, you're probably not gonna do well on our team. So for me, it's really just, is that something that you are like truly curious about? Do you want to better yourself? Do you want to actually use the newest and latest technologies? Is that something that excites you? Because for us, that's our entire company. We bet the house on it every day.
Arun?
Yeah, I'm fully into AI. I feel like what I'm doing nowadays is like exploring a lot of like building my own MCP servers on Cursor and trying to solve some real world business problems that we have in the company. How can I leverage AI to do something? For example, recently we wanted to like find if there is a real P0 issue, right? When there is an incident comes out, now everybody's going to scrambling. Oh, it's a P0. No, like, let's think about it and make sure we are identifying the right P0s here. So using AI to like MCP that hooks up with Zendesk or Databricks or whatever other like services that you have, and that just aggregates and then finally gives you like, okay, this is kind of a P0, like 75% chance it's a P0, 40% chance it's a P. It's not a P. So doing that kind of work is where I'm investing a lot of time on, and having other team members like also be able to use it to do investigation and they have a device ID. I want to like go deep into like logs for a particular device. Use an MCP that gets like aggregates the data from multiple different sources, and it'll give you a nice summary altogether. So, yeah.
Robert?
So, Jordan, I think you're my spirit CTO. You spoke about curiosity, right? So, as a hiring manager and as a leader, curiosity has always been a driver for me and for my teams. It's been an expectation, and I make that a clear expectation when I onboard staff and I have my very first series of one-on-ones. That curiosity is going to be the driver. If you're not curious, you're not fit for the org. Not that in that harsh of a term, but I just spoke a second ago about how we're doing more with less, and smart engineers, they're learning how to use tools at their disposal to do more without doing more, if that makes sense, right? And in the past, when somebody would have to build something, for example, they'd have to go put their hands on the keyboard and they'd have to create code. There's tools that do that for you now. When we used to do code reviews, there's human beings that are putting eyes on code. There's code review agents now. There's unit testing agents. There's all kinds of different things that you can get out of the box that will build stuff for you that in the past you used to spend a lot of time doing. So when we're doing more with less, we have smart engineers who are actually using curiosity to their advantage, where they're utilizing all the tools at their disposal to do the work that they used to do manually or that perhaps other people might do manually, to not have to do that stuff, so that way they can focus on the stuff that's driving them, the things they're really curious about, building things at scale, building things that are secure, building things that are extensible, and doing that with the knowledge that they have and letting the tools that are on the market available to them do the stuff that in the past would occupy a huge chunk of their time. So one of the things that we're looking at when it comes to our talent strategy and hiring is using that curiosity to drive you forward, to not do the mundane, the stuff that was taking your time to do a lot of things before. How is technology being added to your toolbox to not have to do the stuff that was taking a lot of your time before? So it's becoming part of our talent strategy in that way, and in looking at what have you done, not what are you going to do, but what have you done? What have you played with? What is your favorite code generation tool? What is your favorite, LLM? Throw that out there. What are you using right now? What has sparked your interest? What have you tried? What have you broken? What have you unbroken by using a tool that's out there? So that's how that's playing right now, playing into our talent strategy.
And how about after that? How about once the person's in and your job is to, let's keep the team healthy culture, and let's retain that person? Do you feel that same stimulus on curiosity also plays a role?
Yes, 100%. So something that's happening right now in my teams, and this is actually happening organic, this was not driven by management or anything, is my teams have sort of naturally gamified our operations. Right, so we'll have meetings. I'll have individual team meetings. I'll have leadership meetings. We have sprint reviews that happen every 2 weeks. I'm sure many of you participate in ceremonies like that. And people are bringing forward the stuff that they've done outside of our normal operations. Right, we all know we have a roadmap. We have our sprints. We have our sprint goals. We need to do things. But there are people right now who are spending free time. If anybody knows if there's such a thing as free time, they're using free time to let their curiosity run wild. And human beings, when they're being creative, they can do some really cool stuff. And when you give them cool technology on top of their own creativity, you get some wild things. And when you're in a group of people, when you have some of your most senior engineers doing something, you look at that and you're like, oh my God, that is awesome. The very next week, you have somebody else, look at what I did. Look what I discovered. And so what you end up having is this organic growth of challenging curiosity, challenging the status quo that was just set last week. That's no longer the status quo, because this week it's getting that much better because other people are jumping on that.
Arun, you mentioned at the start one of the big changes for last year for you was getting away from the code and focusing more on management. What have you discovered in terms of that retention and strategies for keeping culture strong in the team?
One thing that I really like, that also all my team members do like, is having hackathons. So we do quarterly hackathons, and it's properly you have a cash award and you have all that good stuff given by the company, recognition, visibility across other teams. So that's something even I'm slowly learning to do better, building somebody's visibility within the company. It's not just always about the team. There are individual performers who did really well. I need to show them off to the team, right? To other folks who don't even know who did the actual work here. So just have a nice message out there to the leadership team about to push the growth of any individual. These are certain things I try to do, hackathons, and push people in the growth.
And Jordan, you were a guest on our podcast, and you mentioned that you liked holding shipathons as well.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
I actually wore my shipathon shirt.
Oh.
It's got a little sloth, if you can see it.
Did you invent that term?
Shipathon?
Yeah.
Now I did.
That's awesome.
Trademarked.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say, damn, Arun, you took my exact line. But basically, we do quarterly shipathons. They're not hackathons. They're cooler because they're shipathons. We have swag. Do you have swag?
Yeah.
Okay, damn. Okay. But yeah, it's actually become like a very central part of our culture in the tech side, not just the engineering side, but we fly everyone out. We're a much smaller company. Our tech team is 30 people, about a dozen here in San Francisco, some in New York, and then around the world. But we make sure everybody is flown in, and it really aligns everybody. It's like one of the only things that's not like AI centered of this this little panel. Wait, hold on, we have
Hang on a
drinks.
second.
As promised.
We have drinks.
There we go.
You can take my water.
Oh, actually, here, can you take my shit? Thank you.
Thank you.
But you have to have the fancy napkin.
Love
Okay.
it. Now we're talking.
What wonderful service. Thank you.
Yeah. While we're off topic, I did notice the four of us have all permutations of hair.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. We go from none to none up here to none down there
Right?
to all over.
It's pretty good.
All right, back on target. Come on, Jordan.
All right. So it's true. It's pretty good. Yeah. So it's become like very central to our culture. So it aligns us every quarter, brings everybody in, and if you're, most of us are on Zoom all day. Even if you have like a hybrid role, like Zoom is Zoom. It's really nice to just remember that everyone's on the same team. Everyone's a human, and so everyone is in the same room, being creative, showing off what they can do. And so it's become something that allows us to, on a quarterly basis, like just reunite the team, get everybody back together, and kind of align us for the next quarter. And obviously swag. We have just so much swag.
Swag is the most important.
It's so important. I would take swag over AI.
Let's stick to the topic of distributed teams. So that's one challenge, like getting everyone in person every once in a while. Any other effective strategies that you would like to share for managing distributed teams?
Me? Yep.
Start with you.
Sure. Yeah, so we are global. We have, again, headquarters here, but we do have teams in Ukraine, Bosnia, Spain, and so our time zones are pretty interesting, and well, as a lot of your companies are. And one thing that we strive for is autonomy and ownership. And if you give people the ability to answer their own questions and like own the thing they're working on, they're not going to be blocked while you're sleeping. And so that's something that took me quite a while to learn. But making sure that everybody, we call them product owners or feature owners, they are engineers. They can literally be a junior engineer that owns something. Everyone can own something. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the only one working on it, but they are the ones that the buck stops with them. So they're the ones that have to make sure this thing gets over the line. They have strong conviction in whatever they're building. They know the stakeholders. They own it. And so while, if they're in Spain and I'm out here, they can answer their own questions. And another thing, we're very much like ask for forgiveness, not for permission. And 9 out of 10 times it works. 1 out of 10, pretty good odds. So we'll take it. We'll fix that. We'll remedy that when it happens. But for the most part, it's become very effective for our culture.
And Robert, how about you? Strategies for managing distributed teams?
So at the end of it, empowerment and autonomy are paramount for that. And again, I feel like you and I are reading from the same book.
You sent me your script.
The precursor to that, though, is my team. Like I said, my team is about 50 people, and I have 9 in the United States. So my team is widely distributed. We are in the U.S., and that's on both coasts. We're in the U.K. We're in all over Eastern Europe, Romania, Poland, Ukraine, and we haven't yet gone into South America, but that's a growing market. So there's always a possibility that could come into play because that brings things closer to the North American time zones. Right now, though, with distributed teams, I have actual interface with my team members in Eastern Europe for maybe 3 hours a day. My day starts at about 6 o'clock in the morning, California time. That's early for engineers, I know. Don't panic. I'm an early bird anyways. But I do most of my interaction with people on the other side of the world between about 6 in the morning and about 10 in the morning, because that takes me to about 8 o'clock in the evening their time. So it's incredibly important to establish a level of trust and empowerment in the people that you have in other parts of the world. In order to do that, though, you need to be incredibly clear about your expectations and give people an opportunity to read back that clarity and work towards the expectations that you set, but do that in their own way. You can't tell somebody what to do and how to do it, right? You can give them one of the two, but you can't give them both. So part of it is here's where we're headed. This is our strategy. This is what we're going to do. This is what is dependent on you. You get to own it, and you get to own it your way. I'm going to trust you, and you're going to come through. And that actually works really well in distributed teams because it gives people an opportunity to do things on their own time, on their own terms. And when you only have an hour or two that you get to share with somebody, that hour or two becomes incredibly productive when you're not using it to tell somebody what they have to do or try to govern what it is they're doing.
I really understand the value of that synchronous interaction there, but I think one thing that also comes with it with distributed teams is the need for async habits to develop. And Arun, I know you mentioned that before, so I'd love to have you elaborate on that.
Yeah, so that was the point that I wanted to mention is the, we have team members like, spread across US and China. So having meetings is not going to work, right? Like, it's 5 p.m. would be like 8 p.m. in somewhere in New York so what we do is like every day, all the engineers update like their stand-up asynchronously on Slack. So we know, as like a manager, I know what's going on. Like, if I have to update somebody to my manager, I know, okay, we are already working on so and so. I'm reading through the updates. I don't have need to have a meeting or one-on-ones. Also, I do it very like once 2 weeks. I don't want to have like every week one-on-ones. It's too frequent, and we'll not have much updates with them. So once every 2 weeks is like, I think, a good balance to understand, if they have made some progress. Yeah, so usually like it's async updates are the most important thing, like Slack, and I don't want to have these meetings. And I'm also focused on doing my own coding, as I said. Like I do the MCP things. I want to focus on that and empower the team to use it. So some time to myself also.
All right, so we're getting close to the end here. So I wanted to wrap up with two questions that are really, really practical, and we'll go in that direction. So first, tools or practices that you'd like to share with your peers for extracting the biggest impact, the biggest performance, the best performance from your teams?
So there are a lot of products on the market that you can use that give you insights. I mean, we're in the age of AI right now, right? And we use AI for doing a lot of things. And I'm sure all of us at some point as leaders, we have our toolbox of things we use when it comes to like productivity and measuring what we do. Data is important. I don't want to diminish the value of data, but I have a tendency to lean on human relationship. And for me, one of the most important ways to measure impact both onto people and from the people onto the business is by talking to them. Having open conversations and open growing relationships with my team is critical. To Arun's point, I love when engineering leaders sound like engineers. I hate meetings too. I hate meetings. If you were to look at my Outlook right now, you'd be like, how the hell does that man survive? Because he has like 10 hours straight of meetings. But part of that comes from a desire that I have to make sure that my team is doing okay, right? That they're not overwhelmed, that they're not burdened, that they're not blocked, and at the same time that they're feeling the empowerment that I give them, and that they are producing in a way that they feel that they're producing. Because I am sure all of us have been in a position before where we put our hands to something, but we don't know what the impact is. Being able to show people what their impact is, and we do that tangibly. We have many different ways that we bring forward what it is that we have done. We have, customer feedback loops. We have anonymous feedback loops. We have our marketing team that before they go out, they collect what we're going to be showing. Our team gets to see their impact on every release. We get to see our impact on every sprint review every 2 weeks. But talking to people, for me, has been probably the biggest measure of impact. You get to hear it all, the good and the bad. And if you have a good relationship with your staff, they will tell you when things aren't going well. They'll tell you when something needs to change. And if you're doing your job as a leader, you will take action on that and improve that for them to build that relationship even further and get out of that to where you're both making a positive impact with each other and to the business.
That's a great take. Jordan.
Yeah, I'm going to give some actual tactical tools, like things that we actually use, some of which are like very engineering focused and some are not. I'm going to start with the not, because one of them, if you haven't noticed, I'm a very like culture forward person. And one thing that we started using like 2 years ago, and I love it, is and I'm not plugging this company because there's probably a million of these, but it's a different type of like presentation company, different type of Google Docs, or sorry, Google Slides. It's called, we use Glow, and it just allows you to do like a bunch of weird stuff. So we have like quizzes in the middle of our all hands, or we'll like spin a wheel and someone will win a gift card. Or, like you have to like name that song. I hate forced fun, like especially online, but for some reason this works, and it engages people. It gets people into the culture of the company and allows them to like kind of perk up and listen to the next, what is usually like the boring slide is like, oh, okay, what the next thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what movie is this song from? And people are like, oh, I'll get into that, and then they go on to the next slide, like boom, they go up and down. There's a roller coaster. So that's one I think has actually really affected our business. Honestly, like people really enjoy our all hands, which is like really weird to say. At least
That's really weird.
yeah,
to say.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, also, they win gift cards, so
Yeah. Okay.
paying them, so like
I'd
them.
enjoy an all hands too.
some engineering things. So like PR reviews, we use a thing called Greptile. There's been a million of these like PR review apps that or systems that have come out to help you like automate pull requests, reviews. They all suck. This one actually works. There's definitely more. Again, today's models are the worst models you'll ever have. Everything's going to get better, but starting to adopt this process of like, how do you automate some of the like worst parts of your like engineering day? Pull requests is, 30% of most people's day. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not most, but some people's day. It really does work, and people started to rely on it. And so before it actually goes to anybody else, it'll always pass through this like PR review, and it's pretty good. Let's see, AI orchestration layers. I guess I'll preface, if you haven't noticed, I'm a big like buy over build. So we're a smaller company than most of the other panelists. So we have the ability to like make quick decisions and like buy something over. We don't have like a lot of layers of approval. So we prefer to buy and like really understand how other people are solving the problem, and how can we just like pay for it and get it in the door. So we use a thing called like Vellum, but there's a bunch of like LangChain's one to really just understand your whole like AI layer. And then you don't have any infrastructure like problems in terms of like how you're orchestrating your AI and like how and when it's run. So these are like very tactical things that I'm bringing to the table here. But there's a million competitors to all the things I just said. But I guess
Greptile's pretty cool.
yeah, I like Reptile.
Yeah. So for us, basically, wherever we could use automation in our PRs, we jump into it and do it either in-house or try to see any free product out there. As Jordan mentioned, it's hard to get like approvals for some paid product. So I don't want to go through that legal process and get the approvals, and that's too much work. Instead, we can build something in-house. So, for example, recently we were having a big problem with coveralls, right? Coveralls takes like a huge amount of time to run, and your PRs are pending most of the time. So what we did, we built an in-house tool that does like coveralls, all using AI. Use AI to like help with like whatever you need. It will tell you the code you need, and then and then we built an in-house tool that will give you the coverage report for all the PRs. Because most of the PRs, you already run unit tests. You don't need to, like coveralls, what it does is like it reruns the entire unit test, again, separately. So just use what you have run and then generate the report. There's a simple, knowledge there to do it, and it works effectively. Like most of the times, all our PRs are like run within like 2 to 3 minutes of time. So it's a big win for us.
Can I amend my answer really quick?
Yes, please.
So, because again, you keep setting the bar higher and higher, Jordan. So we have an HR system at work called Bob. I don't know if anybody else uses it. I feel like we're the only company that uses it, but it has a component in it called Kudos. And the way that component works is any person in the company can go into the HR system, they can tag any other person in the company and give them a shout out. And that shout out goes into a leaderboard, like a running leaderboard in Bob, that anytime you're in it, you'll see it. But it also distributes to several different Slack channels that are company-wide. So anytime that happens, you'll get a notification that somebody got kudos. So at a tactical level, that is a way that people know that they're making impact because they're actually positively impacting somebody else to the point where somebody felt it necessary to bring them forward. And another tactical thing that we do, and this comes from the relationship bit that I was talking about, is we go all the way down to the lowest levels of the organization to collect call-outs for things like our all hands. We do quarterly all hands, and anytime we have those, we will actually have call-outs for certain things that people have done, milestones that they may have hit, special accomplishments that they might have had, things that they may have tinkered with that are making an impact. And that actually gets services all the way up to our CTO level, at the CTO all hands. And then one last thing, tactically. I have a lot of curious engineers. I hope all of you have curious engineers. There was a thing I was working on recently where I needed data. Have any of you guys used Linear B, Jellyfish, anything like that? Okay. So those tools are great. They're very noisy, though. You ever notice that? Like you go in to look and you're like, holy crap, 15 dashboards and 1,000 different things. I wanted like 3 very specific data points, and I couldn't find those in Jellyfish. And so I called that out to my managers. I'm like, hey, I need some of this information. Can you go get it for me? And about 3 hours later, one of my managers, he's a very curious engineering manager, says, hey, take a look at this. And he sends me a link, and I go look at it. And he had written a complete API hook into Jira and managed to scrape together all the things that I asked for, not just for his team, but for my entire organization. That was massive. And all of my leaders within my organization were able to see it and see what they were doing and see how they rank against other people. So that was another deeply impactful thing that I was able to call out for that particular manager, because that's outside of anything that I would ever expect him to do.
Extreme case of build, extreme case of buy. Right, so, yeah. Guys, people are telling me I need to wrap up, but I do want to ask one last question, because you guys shared some pretty cool tactics before, and you named one tactic that everyone here, every engineering leader here should steal. I'd love for you to repeat that to the audience. You remember yours?
So I remember my first response to that question, but I'm actually going to say something slightly different, and that is build trust. If there's anything that you can take back to your teams, to your leadership, to your playbook, figure out how to build trust with your team and empower your team to do the things that you know that they can do, that they don't need to get your permission to do it. They know that they can do it. You know that they can do it. Put them in a position to show you how amazing they are all the time. Build that trust with them.
I'm going to stick with my shipathons. I think just bringing something unique to the table that really just creates culture. So we started this year, like 2 years ago. I didn't realize how critical it was to our culture until I hear it in all the interviews. So if I pop into an engineering interview, my engineering managers, or if somebody else is filling in to do the interview, will actually say, like, by the way, this is what we do. So they're really excited about it. They're talking about it. It's like truly become something that's like very central to the org. So I recommend doing something unique. If you call it shipathon, I'm going to come after you. But call it something else.
I'm totally
call it something
stealing
else.
it.
Just give me some swag.
Swagathon? Can I call it that?
Swagathon. You
All right,
can.
we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, like mostly it's being more data driven in your decision making. So, like I see like most of the sometimes engineers will come and say, oh, I think this is going to work, and that might be working well for us. But I want them to like understand, like, you have access to all the data, right? Or build a hypothesis, right? Like, why do you think that is going to work? Do some analysis. So being more data driven with your decision making, I think, is very important. Because that's where you can get wins, right? It's to the business. You're working for the business in the end. But if you make the right move, you will get the right win, and the experiments would prove that for you. We are experiment driven, so whatever features you see on Tubi, any UI feature, it's all behind an experiment, and we'll test it on multiple platforms and make sure it works. So yeah, that's the thing, that I'm data driven. And yeah, there's another thing, like always, like don't fear to make mistakes. I think there's one thing that I see, I don't want to touch this part of the code. I don't want to touch this part of the code, because they're afraid that if something happens, it's going to bring down our platform. It's going to bring down. So I understand that's bad, but you still need to make that change and like think more about it, and engineers can be product managers too. They can also come up with like features today. And at my company, most of the engineers do that. Like, we are also like pushing features. We come up with ideas. We talk to PMs about it, and they also work along with us, and we make it happen. So, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
All right.
Beautiful advice.
Please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you so much, guys.